All right, what's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled "Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father" at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. A link will be in the description box below as usual. Go get it. This video is entitled "Are the Good Black Men to Blame?" Good, productive, whatever. You know, um, because it's kind of funny. When we talk about black men as a group, people bring up all the black men is it's just everybody's negative. If they're good, they're negative. If they're bad, they're negative. So there's no um ex, not a, there's no differentiating the men when you want to paint a bad narrative. But at the same time, we live in a society and within our own community where black people who are from America, black Americans, and black Americans that are didn't come from America, all look for black men, in particular the good ones and the productive ones, to go worldwide doing these things for all these other people. Now, there's a problem with that ideology. So either the good men exist or they don't. Because if we all so bad and we all so negative, why would you have such high expectation of somebody that's so bad, right? So, I'm laying this down. We're going to get to it. So, are the good black men to blame? Because for all of us who've been in our community, and I'm 38, the guys who were good and productive weren't respected like the guys who were no good and unproductive for the bulk of my life. Whether that's within my family, within my extended family, within my social circle, within the places that I've lived, right? That has been my experience. So, how are you blaming these guys? Because a lot of the dysfunction and the bad behaviors and the lack of protection and provision comes from the community glorifying no good men and unproductive men. So it's the good guy's fault that it's like this, is what you're saying. And I can't rock with it. And the reason I can't rock with that is because people approach the good men and the bad men completely differently. Completely differently. And we're going to act like it's true, but for all intent and purposes, we're going to act like we didn't. That's what we're doing. And that's problematic. We're going to act like what the good men have done, that don't exist. But what the bad men have done, that's what you need to be. That's what we've been doing. Papa was a Rolling Stone, right? He was that Rolling Stone Papa was glorified. Stay at home, Papa. Go to work and come home, Papa. The Papa that got you, in the house, the Papa that fed you, the Papa that clothed you, the Papa that sent some of y'all to school, the Papa that died and y'all inherited all his work, whether you actually knew that Papa or not. Y'all act like that dude don't exist. And ironically, the Papa that was a Rolling Stone that could do that, that's who y'all talk about. Well, he did his best. He took care of the family, even though he had a couple of other families across town, and he was drunk and he was alcoholic and he beat on my grandmama or my mama. But, you know, at the family reunion, you talking to that papa. He cool. You get what I'm saying? Like, he cool. Like, oh, you know how it was. Okay. The papa that wasn't doing all that, you don't talk to him. He's stupid. You talk behind his back. You act like he ain't shit. Until you need something. But is that the good black man's fault? Is it? Is that the good black man's fault? You know, I was watching BGS earlier this week. And he was responding to Chrissy. Subscribe to both of them. About black men not giving alternatives. And he brought up the fact that there's been a Black Miss America for 51 years now. And black women aren't supporting that the way you would think. And it was started by a black man. And the problem with that is, ultimately, it looks like people don't support things like that with good black men because they want it to be like white folks. Well, it's not like the white folks, so it don't count. So, you wanted an alternative. You've had an alternative for 5 decades. And it really don't matter because it's not like white folks. So, and this was a man who saw that his daughters was going to be left out. And he made something so his daughters could feel some type of way. Now, me as an old school music listener, you know, if you listen to Curtis Mayfield, you knew this already, right? But personally, you know, I even forgot. You know, but I'm not. I don't look at. I don't care about pageants. You get what I'm saying? Like I've never pageants, cotillions, but I don't give a shit about none of that. But you know, I didn't care about Miss America, Miss Universe, all that shit. I'm like, I knew all of them existed, and what I mean, let me go back when I said I didn't, because I went to a HBCU too. So I already know they have their pageants. You know, they have their Miss this, Miss that, and the states have their Miss this and Miss that. And I remember back in the day that, you know, some of them would go into the state pageant and some of them would go in the black pageant. I just was like, but like I said, I'm like, that's a memory. I knew it existed, but I don't, you know, I was like, I didn't remember that shit like that. Till he actually brought it up. But the reason I say that is because, you know, are the good black men to blame for putting in an alternative out there? Because an alternative's been out there longer than rap. But what we talking about? Music videos. What'd that say? Is the good black man to blame for that? You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to business, and that segues into the business. I know black business owners. I do. You know, entrepreneurs. And they're good brothers. Now, is it their fault that people try to play games with them because you ain't like the white folks? I'm gonna respect the white folks, but I ain't gonna respect you. I'm gonna do right for the white folks, but I ain't gonna do right by you. Is that the good black man's fault? But on the flip side, everybody can work for the dope man, and hey man, you gotta respect the game because you know you gotta respect the dope man because you know you might get you killed, so you got to show up on time in the dope game. Like what? I gotta respect whoever is low and under, who has underworld type ties and who's about that smoke because they might hurt you. So I gotta respect that. Is that the good black man's fault? And then people say, yeah, okay, so what you're saying is these quote unquote good black men and entrepreneurs need to go around shooting people, killing people, stabbing people, beating the brakes off of people. And then all of a sudden it'll be a good thing. And then, wait a minute, but then he's a monster. You can't. Okay, so whose fault is it? Whose fault? Like, is this the good black man's fault that you want to have it both ways? Is it? You know, the family dynamic. Is it the good black man's fault that you don't want the good black man until you ran out of options with the no good black man? Like, is that the good black man's fault? Like, did they do that? You know, did they say, look, man, I got my life together? Oh, you got your life together? That's so unattractive. Hey, you. Oh, Mr. Sexy, I ain't about shit. Oh, you turn me on so much. Is that the good black man's fault? Well, what if he got to be 6'1", 220 pounds muscular, and, well, both of them 6'1", 220 pounds of muscular. Well, see, I don't like them kind of dudes because he ain't got that edge. So that's their fault. So when that edge got your ass falling off the edge, now you're like, good black man, this is your fault. Like when you falling to your death, that's what you're saying? Is that what we talking about? You know, you know, these black men are abandoning their families. I get you. Were these guys, and then the question always comes up, were these guys that wasn't shit to begin with? That will abandon their families, that people warned you about? Because the one thing I do hate about this dynamic is when we talk to the men about this and the women about this, there's a consensus that men and women alike tell their female family and friends that people ain't shit if they're dudes. Like, this dude ain't shit. You shouldn't be fucking with him. But don't listen to those. There's a consensus between men and women there that there's a conversation, whether family or friends, that say, look, you need to mess with that dude over there. And there's pretty much a consensus that says people don't listen to that. So now, he abandoned me. He left the family. You mean the dude that they told you up front wasn't shit? The men and the women? Okay. What about the dude that they told you to be with? They told you was a good guy. Is that guy abandoning the family? No, he's married, or he's got he's had a kid, but he's there for his kid. He does that. See, you look at those guys exactly the same when you've had those guys, both of those guys in your life. You just decide to have children or marry, have a family, have children, or be in a relationship with the wrong one. Now, when you see the other one on a different path, is that his fault that you got abandoned? If he's taking care of his responsibilities, if he's married to this woman, or he's in his child's life, or him and his child's mother's a good mother is good, then is that his fault that you got abandoned by a guy that ain't no good, that everybody knew wasn't no good? Is that his fault? You know, ultimately, I'm gonna end on the brothers. There are guys who have been dysfunctional, destructive, rogue, you know, just downright evil. And those guys did not want to be around, were good guys. They didn't want to be around those guys. So now that you brought your destruction, dysfunction, and paraded it around the community, and now you grew older, and now you're looking at the damage that you caused, is that those good guys' fault? Y'all should come back to the neighborhood, and y'all should fix this. What's wrong with y'all? How y'all just gonna do this? Whoa, 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 whoa. Is that those good black men's fault? Did they sell the drugs? No. Were they running the streets and pimping? No. Were they shooting people? No. Were they getting girls pregnant and leaving them? No. Were they going getting locked up doing bids and coming out and doing the same thing? Were they messing with people's kids? No. So is that their fault too? And the reason I'm making this video is because when we're blaming black men, we're really blaming the good black men and the productive black men who we did not want to fuck with. And we're letting the no good black men and the unproductive black men, we're letting them completely off the hook. Wash our hands with the situation. We don't know what happened. The men and the women do this. So, are the good black men really to blame? You get what I'm saying? Are they really to blame? Because if you're saying that they're the one, it's their fault that our community collectively made dumb choices and did not and basically outcasted that segment of black men, the good black men and the productive black men, the brilliant black men, just was like, put them to the side. The people that actually went to the side with them, they doing just fine. That chose to be with those people, they're doing just fine. The people who didn't aren't doing just fine. So, but those were the choices that they made, right? So is that those black men's fault? Is those the good black men and the productive black men's fault? Or is it their fault that, they should have stopped the no good and unproductive black men for being no good and unproductive when a lot of you chose and enjoyed being no good and unproductive, and a lot of you chose to be with no good and unproductive? Like, it doesn't make sense. I'm out. Peace.